Good morning and welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
Good morning, Todd. Great to be back on our normal day, which is
Yeah,
Saturday,
yeah,
which is when it's been a few weeks since we've been done a show on our normal day.
yeah.
So,
It's my moving around all the time, so it's of course a little bit of yours, but mostly mine. So,
oh yeah. Yeah,
but
well, we've been both on the road, which back on the road next week too. I'm heading out to Minneapolis.
well,
Um,
don't get shot. So,
I know that's what I keep hearing. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I'll be ready to duck at any moment.
yeah,
There you
and
go.
don't call the police.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a big tall target, so. Yeah,
so
I mean, for me, really, this past week has really been all about trying to prepare for podcast movement. Last minute stuff, trying to pull materials together, all sorts of stuff going on, trying to get ready for that big event that's coming up here at the end of August.
it's gonna sneak up on us, isn't it? I know that. We've been working on materials and flyers and just making sure everything's up to date, all the standard stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the stuff that you always have to prepare. And it's like, oh yeah, we got to do that. And I'm in the middle of hiring a marketing firm right now too, so I'm really busy. Um, we should have them on contract next week, and then the fun begins. So guess we're growing up in the world. We're hiring a full-on marketing group.
Yeah. That was the title of the episode I did this past week on the Spreaker Live show was is podcasting growing up? That was my whole topic. So
Well, we've gotten to the point where it's well, we need an outside look. We
hmm
need someone to come in and take a, run through the stack and, see what we're doing, what we're missing, what we can scrap, or, I don't think we're gonna scrap anything though. It'd be hard pressed for making me scrap something. But anyway, that's going on. But I have been experimenting with some Facebook advertising, which has been interesting. That's been pretty successful actually. So more so than anything I've done in recent memory.
well, there's a lot of people on Facebook these days, so
Yeah.
you're you're reaching a lot of people doing it over there.
But what we found is July used to be the month we used to be able to take a breather. That was the month that was kind of like the slow month. There was um there was a lot of just a lot of stuff going on in the space. And I mean, not a lot going on in the space, but now it's like we've been you know put against the firewall. The space is not slowing down for the summer. Now the news cycle slowed down a little bit, but as you were talking about hiring and all that kind of stuff, it's just job announcements left and right. But sadly, most of them are like New York or not Mid America.
hmm
With
Well, I would say that generally that's not where the hot areas in podcasting are, is in Mid America. Anyway, they're on the coast.
Well, for where we're Mid America. I know that you're out on the coast, but Libsyn's
hmm
Mid America. Of course,
Well, kind of. Yeah, you're right.
well, it's not on the they're not in the East Coast bubble. Well, they're close to it, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah. So, but the podcasters though, the majority of the podcasters are. So it's
hmm
but all the big companies. I had a company call me on Tuesday. Yeah, I talk about this from time to time. We go through these gyrations where big multi-billion-dollar investment groups are looking for a piece of the action. And they're shopping around looking where they can put money. And it's always interesting to have those conversations.
Yeah, I'm doing a call right after this show with a VC that's just he's just fishing around trying to learn about the space. So
Yeah.
looking to jump in, and he he reached out to me and said, "Can we talk for a few minutes about the space?" And
Maybe it's the same guy. So
could be, could be. I'm sure that there's not like a ton of these VCs out there looking to get involved here, but
yeah, some of them aren't VC. Some of them are actually like um, they're like they're like the post round. They wait till you get mature, till you're actually making money.
oh, okay, okay.
And they come in and then they want, a piece of the action.
The
Uh,
sharks is what you mean, right?
well,
Yeah.
not necessarily sharks, but they see an opportunity for a return, and if you've already passed the danger stage
Startup,
of a
yes.
startup, then that's the round that they get in. So they always have
It's a
us.
it's a little less risky, I guess,
Yeah,
to some degree. Yeah.
I always ask the guys. I say, okay, first of all, where do we have to be at for your minimum investment? Because some companies are like, they want to talk to you, but they need you to be at like $50 million a year gross. That's where they jump in. They don't,
Yeah.
or 20 or 10 or 5. And I always
Hmm.
tell them, well, where you got to be, and then they tell me the number that's beyond where we're at. I'll be like, well, we can talk, but I'm not quite there yet. So, it's always good to
Hmm.
have those connections too, because sometimes they call you back and say, "Hey, I got something you might be interested in." So, it's a two-way street. So it's always fun to talk to those folks.
Yeah. And those kind of conversations have come and gone too, just like what,
Yeah,
I mean, I go back a long ways in this space. I mean, I remember back in 2005, 2007, there were a lot of big VCs all of a sudden waking up to the podcasting space, even as far back as then. I mean, I was with a startup company back in 2005 that had 20 million in VC, and they were working with a, a lot of the big VC capital companies, and they were involved in podcasting.
and Rob, where are they today?
Yeah. Well, back in those days, that group tried to buy Lipson, so uh, there's been there's been multiple companies that I've been with that have had that desire over the years.
And
So
they blew their wad and they're gone.
yeah, and it was probably good that they didn't pick up Lipson, and
Yeah.
so
It-
so it's interesting, thinking back on this space on how things have changed and how a lot of things really haven't changed that much.
yeah, someone's going to have to come to me with a hell of an offer. I mean, they're going to have to make my brain explode, because most of them I don't trust them, you know. You
Well,
know,
Todd, I don't think that you would accept anything that wouldn't make your head explode.
well, it's there's in any business that you own, you don't, sure, if someone comes to you with let's be frank, someone comes to you with a big enough check, you're going to do a deal.
Yeah,
That's just the way it is in business. But at the same
yeah,
time, if someone comes in and just wants a percentage, well, those percentages are going to have, i- incredible controls. They can't
yeah,
just come in and change your model because you'll go the way of the dinosaur.
yeah.
So,
They
we've
have to
talked.
be silent investors. Those are the perfect investors.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, those hardly exist.
I know, exactly.
You
Yeah,
know, but I think if you can come up with a predetermined plan of, okay, this is what you're putting your money in for, this is what we're going to use it for, and then set risk levels, and you determine where you know where your where your challenging spots are, then that's fine. But when they come in and say, okay, you've been selling postcards up to this point. Now we want you to sell fly swatters. That's where the problem usually comes in.
yeah.
But one thing we did notice this week, and I actually Facebooked about it or even tweeted about it, was that there was we're actually seeing a huge now, and we've been and I know they've been trickling in, but our international business is growing dramatically. Probably, if you look at percentages, it's a chunk. And
Hmm.
Mike was on the phone, I believe, on Wednesday or something. I think he talked to France, England, Ireland, Australia twice, Spain. It was five or
Hmm.
six countries, and and it's funny too because they got to work the time schedule to get on the schedule. They're waking up early in the morning, especially in Australia, or they're
Hmm.
staying late at the office or whatever. But
Yep.
I think the international podcasting stuff um, is on the move. And here's the thing: I'm just using that as a a place marker. But you used to be able to get maybe we get one support ticket a week from someone from France or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's up. Of course, you guys have been a little more international from the beginning, right?
Yeah, I think we Spreaker has about 40% of their business is outside of the U.S. So it's a big chunk for us. I mean, of course, we're mostly based outside of the U.S. So there's two of us now that are in the U.S. covering each coast.
Right.
So, but yeah, the I agree with you. The international markets. I mean, a lot of the podcasts kind of guesting that I've been doing have
Mm-hmm.
have been with podcasts in the UK and Australia and all these places lately that have a a growth. Now, granted, podcasting in those English speaking countries has always been relatively strong,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I do think that I agree with you. I think as you look at globally, I mean, even in South America, um, it seems to be exploding in South America, doing well down there. Canada seems to be doing well with podcasts. Spain, Germany, um, the UK is strong, definitely. Um, so I think that the rest of the world is they're like 2 or 3 years behind the U.S.,
Yep.
but that fortunately each year that goes by they get a little bigger and more significant in this area. So it's I mean in a couple of years, there's going to be a lot of activity going on in outside of the U.S. and that probably that share of market for Spreaker is probably going to be more 50-50 here, I would think, in the next year or so. So,
Well,
yeah,
it's fun to watch it, and I think the non-English. I'm more excited about the non-English speaking countries than
yeah,
anything else. Like you
that's right.
said, they've been podcasting in Australia from the beginning. Some of the early shows were actually started down there. So,
Yep, yep.
um,
And some of them kind of, pod faded and went away. There was a big network that was down based out of
oh
out of
yeah,
Australia
that's
that
true.
that that faded during the perceived low spot in the in the podcasting. This is back in I think 2009,
Yeah,
10
they had an
range.
interesting model too. So
Yeah.
they were destined to have challenges. Anytime you can't you can't monetize, it's a problem.
Hmm.
We had a had a new client call us, and they've been talking to us for a while, and they've got about 80 shows, and
That's a lot of shows.
yeah, and it's like 40 of them are active and 40 are not, and so but they want to put the other 40 up for archive, and we've been talking to them, and um, they're commercial network, so we send over
Hmm.
the pricing and everything, and they're in a panic. They don't know how they're gonna. They've been kind of fudging how they well not fudging, but they've been on a platform that they've way outgrew, and and now they need some professional help, and um, it's not something that is I can't give service away, so and I try to be fair. So I'm working with them, trying to get them a deal that's something they can swallow. But it's when when they come back and you send over the normal pricing, and And they're like, no, we can't. You're like, we just don't have the budget. And I'm thinking, and then, why don't you ask your host or something to chip in? If they haven't, I don't know what their model is. So I think people start networks and then the costs get away from them. You get a popular show and the traffic goes up and the bandwidth goes up, and all of a sudden, it's
Yeah.
$2,000-3,000 a month. And if you don't have revenue coming in, it's hard to sustain
It's
that.
hard to cover it. Yeah.
Right, right.
You can't can't cover those kind of bills on no revenue unless you've got venture capital.
No, no, that's
Yeah.
that's true, and this is not that. They're not that model. So, you do what you can do for these groups, but they've got to figure out on how to start, monetizing their shows a little bit.
Yeah.
And maybe their shows aren't big enough to monetize too. Maybe they have a small network, but that helps them from a cost perspective. But
Hmm.
everything I'm seeing, it's not necessarily the case.
Popularity comes with a price.
Oh, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
did you?
you got
I saw something, and I think you did too. I do have to share this. Oh, don't come on! I don't. Um, I did. I set up two-factor authentication on um. Oh, I think my son just tried to log in. I set up two-factor authentication on my iOS device. It's kind of a pain. It adds a certain level of security, but
yeah.
if you have more than one device, it can be painful. So I downloaded this. Those of you that are watching, I don't want to really say it, but I found someone rebranded. There's a new logo out. Have you seen this new?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I saw
this
that. Yeah.
new logo. It's so bright in here.
Yeah. No, you can kind of see it. It's a speaking of the SoundCloud Death Watch, is that what is that the segment that we're moving into here?
No, no, no. But I just
Oh,
wanted to. I thought this was funny. It was a mushroom cloud. So yeah, very very interesting new logo. It's so bright in here. Let me see if I can go to the other camera. It's still too bright between the eye.
you can see it better
Yeah,
now, Todd.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
How many cameras do you have, Todd?
uh, 1, 2, 3 right now. So
How many cameras can you have?
8.
Get on that, Todd.
I used to have. Well, I took the one that was down over here because I never used it, and it was
Yeah.
supposed to. But I really need one that's hanging straight down from above me to do like a product shot. But there's a ceiling fan above me, so that's not gonna work.
No.
Hey, I did want to tell you. I'll see if I can actually show this. I did order the Amazon show or the Alexa show. Oh, she just woke up.
Oh, you did. Oh, okay.
So, oh, okay. Alexa, go home. Okay. So this is the device. Whoops. And I only set it up last night because I cleaned the office up a little bit and I had room for it. So
It's kind of boxy looking.
yeah, it's big, but it's got a video screen, and they needed a little help from Johnny Ivy on their design. But it's so well. I tried playing a video podcast on it. It wouldn't do that. It's not smart enough to play a video podcast, and it does give you the news and the weather, and but it's just a little some stuff, and it's a little weird. You can watch movies on it. I would never watch a movie on it, but you can. So
Hmm.
um, it's just another Amazon device.
Yeah. So how much are they looking for that as far as
I
cost
think that was
goes?
like 200 something. I buy all the devices when they come out, and I have a graveyard of devices here. Let me see what it.
Graveyard.
Yeah. Let me see how much it is. It's 229, and it's not designed to sit here. It's designed to really kind of be like maybe in the kitchen where you can get a recipe, but it'll play music, and you know it's right now it's flashing to me weather news. It's giving me hints on what I can do. Um, so it's basically it's uh ask me right now to tell me about Harry Potter, and but it's continuing screens continuing to update, and it's teaching you how to use it visually. So
Hmm.
it is kind of curious. Um, I don't know how long it's going to sit here because it's really kind of big, and I'd rather have just the dot here and not take up a lot of room. But maybe it'll end up in the kitchen. Maybe my wife will use it. The kids love, maybe one of the kids will have it, but they use Alexa a lot. See,
Oh, they do.
every time I say the name now.
So I think I saw in the news this week that it was announced that Alexa is going to be built into refrigerators. Did you hear about this?
No, Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. It's it's gonna be annoying. It's gonna have to leave the room. So I heard it was gonna be in Kenmore. Sears is trying to revitalize their brand, so they're gonna put it in Kenmore.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna be coming to other. If it hasn't come to other appliances already, I'd be surprised.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's as of the 20th, it was reported that Sears is adding the Alexa assistant to their Kenmore brand. And I think that's going to, let me see, a full line of Kenmore smart appliances, air conditioners, refrigerators, and more, it says. This is just the beginning, Todd.
Hmm.
Um, I believe this is going to get integrated into lots of home devices. So when you walk around the house, Alexa will always be within earshot.
Hmm.
So, if you get a refrigerator or whatever that has this built into it, I'm not sure if it's if the purpose of this is really kind of home automation, or if it's truly each of these are going to have speakers built into it. And I would imagine it probably would have speakers built into it, but I don't know. I mean, I would imagine it'd be fully capable. What do you think?
I would think so.
Okay.
Here's the thing. If they're gonna bring it out, they're gonna bring it out with skills, and they're gonna build their own skill set. But here's the thing. You can run Amazon's artificial intelligence on your phone. You don't need to even run it on a device.
Yeah, it also
So,
says here that GE and Whirlpool have already added support for the Alexa
oh, okay.
in some of their products.
Hmm.
Let's see here. It links to a list of all of and this is what they were saying. I mean, I've talked to Jeff, and I know Todd, you have too. That the Alexa is going to get built into a lot of devices going
Yeah,
forward,
a lot.
and some of them make sense, some of them don't. Charlie Kindle, director of Alexa Smart Home. Charlie Kindle used to work on Zune. This is a guy working at the Amazon company. He was the director of Alexa Smart Home.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is about. This is really about Alexa being core, and this is what I was alluding to a second ago. Is really home automation here and home control. The digitizing of our homes is what's happening here.
Yeah, Addie say in
Um,
the chat room, hey, I would try to avoid using the word beep and triggering people's echoes and beep devices. It's true. I do it all the time. And now when I'm doing my show, And what he just said is perfect because I tell people on my podcast how to play the latest edition of the show on that beep device. And so one time I said it exactly, and yeah, I put people in a loop. I re-triggered the stupid thing, and it doesn't know its owner's name, or voice, so it'll respond to anyone, and
Yeah.
that's what has gotten some marketing companies in trouble. We've talked about that in the past, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So we're doing it too, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting. This is something that we knew was coming, and I would imagine it's going to get built into cars here as part of their broad deployment.
Yeah.
So we could see, Siri and the Google Home stuff get a little bit of a challenge here going forward with this. That's for sure.
So there was a chat, and it's still ongoing. Matter of fact, it's very heated right now, and it's over on Facebook in the podcaster hangout area. And Ramona Rice had made a comment about um, a massage therapist that's using Anchor to produce a free podcast, and she was just livid about this massage therapist. Apparently, is according to her, allegedly not putting out very good information. And she's just like, oh my God, we got it's amateur hour now because it's so easy for people to create a podcast. And there was a few people that weighed in. Well, it's so easy. We don't have to think about it. We just use our phone and blah, blah, blah. And if they go out of business, I don't care. I'm just going to move. And so, of course, then they gave me an opportunity, Todd being Todd. And I had to chime in, because they were saying it's no big deal if they go down, we just restart somewhere. And I said, well, except with that platform, you don't control your feed, and it was submitted to iTunes by them, so you don't control the listing. So what I'm worried about with all these, if it starts becoming a trend, is if you start having third parties um, submitting literally hundreds or even thousands of shows to iTunes, then what's going to happen is, and SoundCloud's got this problem as well, because SoundCloud has got literally thousands of shows that they submitted with, and they're linked to their email address. So if they go if they go bye bye, um, there's no way those podcasters will ever get those listings back. Their listings are dead. I mean, gone, and any work has been put into it. So if you think about Blab, and Rob, you and I invested a lot of time in Blab, and we were
Hmm.
over there and we were having a good time on it, and they pulled the rug out from underneath us. And for us, it was kind of like, damn, we build up this kind of cool following on Blab, and now using it to do the live show, and it's gone. We came back here to this, and reverted to Facebook and reverted to YouTube Live. And so it just, once again, I continue to just cringe that as companies' priorities change and they move on, uh, I think a lot of content creators are just going to be screwed, and they don't think through how do we prevent them from getting themselves in this situation. I don't know if we can we?
I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm not sure.
So, but anyway, and the one guy says, well, I don't care. It's going to be pain to get back online, but all wouldn't be lost. And it's just like, well, if you build an audience, that
Yeah.
audience is gone, especially if that's where they come to find you.
Yeah.
So more and more and more, I continue to see these, you know, I see stuff that just goes against the grain of my, um, but I think some of these companies could alleviate discussions like this just by asking around a little bit. If Anchor would have reached out to you or I and said,
Yeah.
what do you think we should do here? And we'd have been like,
Yeah.
well, let the podcasters submit their feeds and give them two or three pieces of advice. There would be, and yeah, I think I'd be willing to do that. I haven't ever said no to some company and giving them some feedback.
No,
So
I mean, we've actually done that quite a few times with many companies actually that are new to the space that haven't been around that long that want to get enthusiastic and want to jump in and do something new or what they think is new.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of the times, what they think is new is something that's been tried 2 or 3 times and has failed 2 or 3 times. um, I can think of a couple of examples.
Right.
So um, I don't know. It's tough to come up with something new that hasn't been tried before.
And you see some of the same mistakes being done too. And maybe it is that maybe they are in the right place at the right time. Maybe they're going to be very successful. Um, we put some stuff up that wasn't successful that I thought about, should I dust the cobwebs off that? Is it
Hmm.
time? Because we were ahead. We were too far ahead. People couldn't conceptualize what we were trying to do. But now maybe it's time. So,
Yeah, I think one big one that has come and gone and come and gone and come and gone is audio search. um,
yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things that it seems like every couple years there's somebody that gets the wild hair that that's going to solve all the podcast discovery issues is audio search. Well, that hill's been run at like 2 or 3 times. I've actually known the CEOs of all these companies over the years, and they all ran up against the same problems: cost of doing it, and nobody has an interest in doing it.
Right.
So that's going to doom you right there.
Yeah. So Dave's in the chat room, Mike's in the chat room, Addie's in the chat room. Thanks guys for coming in. Dave says there's an app on iOS called Reverb that allows you to contact beep from your phone, add things to list, check weather, etc. So again, some apps are now starting to integrate into the Amazon device. So also, this is going backwards. I should have been reading these. Mike Dell, VW's putting Amazon in its cars. Um, Mike says listening to a podcast on the refrigerator would be a bit weird, but it would be cool.
Well, you're standing in the kitchen. I mean, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their kitchens.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
they have people come over. Family spends a lot of time in the kitchens.
yeah. So sorry, I got us off track there, but yeah. So going back to what we were talking about, it is true. It's people have tried a lot of different. I saw something on a Slack channel. And every time I have to. It's almost like crack. I see a comment and it's like, I gotta respond, right? And
Yeah.
it's a habit you just can't. You know. I'm sorry if I'm making fun. It's not. That's a serious addiction. So I'm not. Just because then someone's gonna get pissed at me, but it's when you have to like push yourself away from the keyboard. Um, because you want to respond to something because you know what you're going to say is going to go one ear and out the other, and the only way someone's going to figure something out is to have to do it themselves and make the same mistakes
Hmm.
because you can just tell by the passion in the post that this is what it's going to be, and they've signed up for some mastermind or whatever, and they've gotten horrible advice, and it it drives me to the brink of insanity sometimes. And then I
Hmm.
saw one thing I did see, and then someone came to my rescue. Someone was talking about a new translation service, and that will do not translation, transcription service.
Hmm.
And I've got my history on transcription and how it's effective and not effective, and yeah, how you can do transcripts right and doing them wrong can actually hurt you with Google. And
Hmm.
and I just see this and I'm like, it's got to be like the 30th transcript company, right? Is it seem like there's a new transcript company every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
That are offering
Yeah.
transcript services.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really see that many people using transcript services for their podcast because it's expensive.
And some that do and have looked at their pages, oh, it just looks like one continuous run-on sentence, and that's the way Google looks at it too. Um,
Yeah.
it has to be contextual. It can't be a full train. It can't be you. They cannot transcript exactly how we talk. It has to be formatted.
Hmm.
You have to make it like, there is a difference between written word and spoken word when it comes.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a run-on sentence when you speak, um, but there is a problem if it's in the written word. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do it all the time. When I write, it's just it's just so
There's no paragraph breaks, and I want to say
yeah, that's why I'm not allowed to.
paragraph break. Now
That's
I'm gonna. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm forced to have copy editors look at my blog posts before they go up. I am not allowed to just hit publish.
Todd, you have to have somebody look over your shoulder.
Yes, I do. It's a weakness, so I know it.
Yeah.
Here's really the problem. If I take the extra 10 minutes, but I don't have the extra 10 minutes, so let someone else have the extra 10 minutes to go in and fix it. Um, I can write, but just when you're in a hurry, I had 560 some emails on Wednesday alone. That is just that's insane. It's insane. Now there was a mixture of junk in there too, but and I said to myself, how many emails have come today? I looked in the trash. 560 emails in one day. There is something really, really wrong. What is what is your email account on a daily basis, Rob?
Oh, it's probably 50, 60, something like
That
that.
you have to respond to.
Yeah, I mean but I've got like 10 email addresses, so I
Yeah.
I get a dribble in of stuff from all sorts of email addresses.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
I have four Gmail tabs always loaded. That they default load when they open up.
yeah, yeah. I think I have more email, kind of tiles on my phone than I do apps.
Right.
So it's a little old school. I know a lot of younger folks don't use email quite as much. I know my kids don't use email much.
Well, I
Um,
they just text. That's what they do, or
Text and these messaging apps. Everybody's talking using
yeah,
messaging apps these days. Even Skype is starting to look more like um, a messaging app these days.
yeah. I rarely
Um,
use Skype. I use it for this, and I use it for interviews, but that's it. I don't use it otherwise.
Yeah, the new version of Skype. So Microsoft's got this bifurcation thing going on right now with Skype, as
Hmm.
many of I'm sure listeners to this know, where you have a kind of the old school desktop version, and then you have kind of their new design that
Right.
kind of looks like a Snapchat app.
Yeah.
Um, it was a recent update that they made to Skype, and it's a lot of the older Skype users are a little, you know, turned off by that because it's not what they're used to.
Yep.
Uh, it's got more emoticons and things like that built into it, and different kind of funny things. But they're adapting the platform to make it more appealing to, the younger generation coming up. I guess it makes some sense,
Yep.
but but when is this desktop version going to go away is the question that I have. I would think it would eventually.
I think the yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Business is still done via email, so
Yeah, it
it
is.
you know it and even people don't even call. They very rarely. Well, Mike's phone rings because it's support, but my phone very very rarely rings. Whereas media buyers before would call you, now they email you, and
Yeah, I get reached out to on Twitter messaging, and I get reached out to on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
People are using all sorts of alternative email type platforms. The problem with a lot of them is that they're not very robust and
Hmm.
not very well architected. They don't have a lot of the functions and features that you and I really appreciate with email.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and the
it,
whole spam issue with email has kind of not as big of an issue these
yeah,
days with the spam
it's
filters.
no longer an issue. Yeah. One thing
Yeah.
I do, we use Slack, and man, that's
Oh, Slack.
oh, it's not email interdepartment. There might be one or two, but it's all about the chat room now. So
Yeah.
being in the Slack chat room all day is.
Yeah. I mean, I use Slack. I mean, Spreaker uses Slack as well for their company communications. So I spend a lot of time in Slack.
Yeah, someone
So
was telling me that they're in a Slack channel that their company has that literally has 500 or 600 channels, but they also have like 2,000 employees. And I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine having to sort through that mess? And he says there's stuff that, there's channels I don't even know about. And I'm like, I would imagine so.
yeah.
You'd almost have to have an internal policy on Slack channel naming procedures.
Well, I think Slack is turning into the Outlook replacement for many.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's not email. So
no.
that's a two-way chat platform. So
And if you're paying for the service, at least you can search for stuff. Every once in a while, I'm like, where did that go? And then it's between a content management system where we're dealing with, like Salesforce type stuff, and then, Slack, and then email, and then Twitter, and it's like so many channels of where you have to keep an eye on these days. It is crazy, and that's some of the stuff I'm going to talk about at Podcast Movement during my session on, basically I'm talking about social media and getting exposure and some lessons learned here is that we are now so multi-channel faceted. If you are, a lot of podcasters right now are scope locked. And some of these younger folks, like you said, are scope locked on certain services, and they really need to understand that their audiences is multifaceted. So it's going to be I'm going to have fun with that discussion in itself.
yeah. Yeah, I saw an article posted in one of the Facebook groups talking about, posing the question, do I need a mixer for my podcast?
That's a loaded question because it all depends on your mic. There's just
Hmm.
so many. That's
Yeah.
I think we just need a FAQ on some of these Facebook groups to say, okay, here's the FAQ for for do you need a mixer or not?
Well, I think just in a general sense, I don't think you need a mixer. I think you may want one because you want to use a high-end microphone and you want to have you know, outstanding sound. I think a mixer is one of those things that you should probably have if you want to have the best sound that you can do, but not everybody needs to have the best sound. You can have pretty darn good sounding stuff just with a USB mic these days. So, um,
The mic I wish people would quit using is the Yeti. My God, that did Blue Mike make some money off that one? Holy cow! It's
yeah,
I see a lot of podcasters going to that for their first mic, and I recommend an ATR above a Yeti.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I do too. I do too. I think it's the most versatile. You decide at some point that you get a mixer that ATR 21 will work with a standard mixer as well as plug it directly into a USB port. So it's the it's a good transitionary mic too. If because if you go out and buy a mixer, you're going to have to get an XLR um, mic typically, and those are usually a little more expensive.
there is a new mastermind that had a big press release, and they had a picture of a Yeti on their desk, and they were talking into the end of it. So
That's a bad sign, Todd.
Well, it's and remember this is a podcast mastermind,
That's right.
and they have all the best advice, and they have a Yeti on a desk, and they're talking into the top of it. Huh. hmm I wonder how many episodes they've done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did that with a mic once. I bought a new mic, got it in the early days of podcasting. Oh, this thing is beautiful. I set it all up. I'm talking, I'm like, it kept, and it notices I was moving my face around I'm like, so I held it up to the light and and was trying to see, and like, there's the actual element is in, so as an early podcaster, as a new podcaster, I was using a mic wrong. I didn't know that it was supposed to be standing up and pointing at me like this one is,
Yeah,
and
because I mean, it looks like you talk into the top
yeah,
of it.
it looks like you do, but not that one. And I held it up to the light, and I could see that. Oh, and then you're like, you're so stupid, and you're cussing yourself out, and you're like, well, this is why this mount is supposed to mount this way, and then oh my god, and I'm thinking during mounting, I'm like, why do they have this like this? This don't make no sense. Is because I didn't read the instructions, so yeah.
Well, Todd, your microphone there is pretty obvious. You talk into the side of it.
Right.
But the question is, can you talk into the other side of the microphone?
Well, no, you're not supposed to. But what happens is sometimes, and I've got it pretty much pointed straight up and down. I get too close to it, and then the voice pushes through and bounces off my monitor and comes in the back, and I get a little reverb. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to
Yeah,
continually push myself back away from this thing.
yeah. That's what's good about this microphone is this is one of the strongest rear rejection,
Right.
what they call rear rejection microphones. Because yeah, I mean, a lot of us when we do podcasts, I've got a 27-inch monitor right in front of me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm talking right at it, and my voice is going to bounce off of that screen and come back.
Yeah.
Um, and unless you have a microphone that has really strong rear rejection, that can create a little micro echo in your
Yeah.
audio.
And
Can-
and it's and I can usually solve it if I put the mic down a little bit when I'm doing my normal show, and not it's I guess I usually have it down a little bit, and then it pointed a
You can
little
see
bit.
your face a little bit
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem with these big microphones. I mean, I've got this Shure microphone. It's got this big foam pad on it, but if I pop the foam off, you can kind of see. I don't know if you can't see it because it's dark,
But
but
you can definitely tell the difference on your voice right now as soon as you pull. Oh, let me switch it over.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
And
you
it.
can see on this, the actual diaphragm is like that circle right on the inside
Yep.
here,
Yep. Yep.
and it's facing outwards, so you can actually know that's how you have to talk into it.
Yep.
So so do I sound a lot different here than what once I put this pad or this foam on?
Yeah. It's much better with the windscreen on.
Yeah. Well, it's also a little bit of a pop filter too. It keeps me from doing those pop pop
Yeah.
pop.
This is what this is supposed to do, but if you are a professional podcaster, Rob, you will not be making those popping sounds.
That's right. Well, that's why I have the microphone off to the side too, is because my pops are going to go. It's going to not go into the microphone.
Yeah,
But then if I have my microphone like this, you won't be able to see me. I'll look like a Bozo the Clown here.
right. Well, that's what they want you to. You're not supposed to be on. You're not supposed to use that mic on a broadcast. You're only supposed to use that for radio. So they want that thing set in front of directly in
Oh,
front of
that's
your
right.
mouth.
That's right. You shouldn't actually use this for any video, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all using the wrong mic for that. We all should be on lavs or something like the guys at ESPN. But I never get the same quality. You never get the same sound out of a lab.
Yeah. I went out and got one just for this show. I got an Audio Technica. It's like an AT $8.99. I don't know if you played around with these, Todd. I'm sure I got one
Oh,
of these things.
I think I have the same box, but mine's a little older that I've never used.
So I got one of these things, um, but I used it and I found it to be really
Oh,
spotty doing this show. I would mount. I don't know if you remember, Todd, but I tried to use it for a while on the show, and I would clip it to my lapel here, and I wouldn't have to have this big boom thing in front of me. But the audio was never that great with it.
have you ever had a plastic box go gooey on you before? You know what I mean? The texture on the outside gets weird, maybe exposed to too much heat or something.
No, I haven't actually. I
That
mean, it doesn't
that
jump out at me.
that box has got this. I'm gonna have to throw in the trash. I'll
Oh,
take.
these boxes that they put these microphones
Yeah,
in.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's got like a foam around it.
Well, mine isn't that nice. Mine's got this hard plastic, and it must be I had it somewhere stored in the heat. Yeah, I can hardly like touch it. It's like just that's why I threw it in the back there. It's gross. So I'm gonna have to find it. That's going in the trash. I'll find a new box for the microphone. But it's just I don't know what causes that. I guess cheap materials. I haven't had it
Hmm.
happen in a while, but I'm still rubbing my hand. It feels like I've. Ugh.
So I might try this again, like maybe next week or something like that with the show and see if and see what the audio is. But being down here on my neck, it's a little far away. I mean, so I'm not sure that it has the best sound. It's much better when I'm up on the mic a little bit.
So let's talk just a little bit about some of the stuff that's in the news. I think we covered these job postings already last week. Yeah, that's already covered. The both the Pod to Pod and podcasternews.com a little bit slow. So it just maybe it is because of the summer the news cycle is down a little bit. I don't know if the Pod to Pod guys have been on vacation. There's been plenty of stuff that they've been posting in the Slack channel. So let me go back to that. And there was a couple of things in here I saw that might be worth talking about a little bit. The city of Las Vegas put out a press release about their 10th episode of the show that they've done, and they're up to 2,000 listeners. They're very proud of that. So that's pretty cool. City municipality doing a podcast. Very, very smart.
Hmm.
Um, maybe that mayor in Minneapolis should have done her press release last night with a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got shouted down. It was lost control of her audience. So what else here? Oh, there's a cool one out that is
What a podcast
yeah,
that's out.
and I'm not a sports guy at all, but there's a guy by the name of JJ Redick. You know who that is?
Kind of. The
I
name's
think
familiar.
I guess he's a basketball player.
Yeah,
He plays
exactly.
for Philadelphia. And if you're
Uh-huh.
a basketball fan, I don't watch sports, so I have no clue who the hell this guy is. But he basically is dropping knowledge on his free agent process in a new podcast, and it's over at Comcast Sportsnet Philadelphia, csnphilly.com. So for you sports fans or for someone that is looking at a career in sports, some of these types of things you hear about a free agent. I might actually listen to that episode to just learn about the free agent process because you hear about free agents in sports all the time, but okay, what is that? I know that they make more money. They're not necessarily affected by some cap or whatever they've got in place, but it'd be kind of cool to check, just learn about. These are the types of podcasts I get interested in, so I can learn something. Um,
Hmm.
what else? Mostly just about show announcements, and some more talk about TV adaptations. And I only think Serial's been the only. There might be one or two others that's been adapted.
So, Todd, is there any rumors that you're hearing about when the iOS 11 is going to get pushed and all of these tags are going to need to be supported. I know the rumor is like fall, right?
Yeah,
Um,
probably right around the time the new phones are released, I would think. Um,
okay.
yeah, Apple will, Apple has a pretty set cycle. You'll know when you're getting close. They'll start doing more releases. I think just like anything else, they probably until it's just like a fine wine. It's not ready till it's ready. So we will see. I know a lot of people are excited about it, and you can download the beta of iOS 11 if you really want to see what it's going to look like. Some have, some are testing their new, their updated feeds with it as well. But I just it takes too much energy. I'm not going to download the beta on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you hear about this report that came out of Texas A&M? Download on podcast report offers measurement overview with help from Nielsen.
No, I haven't seen. Is this something new that came out this last week?
Yeah, and so when I hear Texas A&M doing a podcast report, it was on All Access, but I couldn't find a link. Oh, wait a minute, here it is. Download. It's actually a website. Download on podcasting.com. And let's see here. A brief history
Looks
of
all.
pod. Oh, am I going to get angry here? Oh, you have to provide your email address. You get on their list.
Oh, was it like a pop up or something?
Yeah, they've done a number of these. Let me see if I can bring it up. Well, I've got the link copied into the other browser where I can. So, here, let me switch up here. So basically, it basically talks a little bit about the history, with a momentum of podcasts are quickly graduating from niche marketing to growth revenue streams for Podcast One, Libsyn, Panoply, Midroll, along with established media companies from NPR. Where did you forget about us? Forget about Spreaker? Um, there's Nielsen's trying to push their foot in here. They're trying. I don't know how much success they're actually going to have. Um, is there anything in here that just looks like a write up? I don't think there's any. Yeah, this is just kind of an information piece per
So
se.
where did you find that document? Because I can't find it on their website or anything like that.
Yeah, let me send you the link here. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh, come on. How come you didn't? All right, I just sent it to you
Yeah, where?
in Slack.
Oh, in Slack. Okay, that's
So
another
it's
mole.
it's it's really not. It just links to a lot of articles and interviews with a lot of people, and so I guess I'm going to have to go through and give this a closer look. But this is not the first thing that they've done. They have done um, some stuff with. They've got a brief history. When did that come out? This document, the brief history one, came out in November of 2016. Yeah, I think I've seen these before. Um,
Yeah, I think I think we've seen stuff out of these guys. Yeah.
yeah. So it's by DMR Interactive is who's posting it, but it read like it was done by Texas A&M.
That's what it looks like.
So I don't fully understand how they are. Oh, it must be they're partnering with DMR Interactive. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if we can find out about DMR Interactive. Who are they? Google search here.
Okay, it says here, audience. The download on podcasting presents audience measurement with Nielsen. Listen up, a brief history of podcast monetization, a race to 100 billion best practices for starting a podcast, podcasting 411, four things you need to know about podcasts,
Yeah,
formats and clocks.
yeah, they've got a variety of articles here. But they, over on their website at dmrinteractive.com, they work with CBS Radio, iHeart, Bonneville International, Hubbard, Cox Media, Cumulus.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see
Mm-hmm.
why they named the companies that they named. If these are actually all business partners, Midwest Family Broadcasting, actually, I'm pretty sure they're a commercial customer with us. Um, so yeah, so I guess they sponsored this particular study.
So, in an article that was written in Rain News on this, it says here a Tony Hierro, VP of Audience Insights for Nielsen, who draws an interesting parallel of podcasting and seemingly unrelated industries. He draws a parallel with podcasting with craft beer
Mm-hmm.
and automobiles. By looking outside of audio, it brings to light industries where the long tail is the norm and economies of scales have little to do with winning or losing. It's interesting.
Okay, so hmm. So what was the parallel he was making there? I kind of missed that.
Well, I guess he was looking at, he noted that there are well over 5,000 craft brewers in the U.S.
Right?
It's the niche, it's niche, small,
I
you
see.
know,
I see.
small, the independent operators or the independent folks out there. It says there's, I'm not sure about the car association because he says there's 1,700 car models,
Mm-hmm.
but those are all being done by huge companies, so I'm not sure what the parallel is there. Um, I guess if you want to look at it like the big networks or whatever, pumping out all sorts of podcasts, I guess you could draw some parallel there.
I have to.
Um,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's fine.
In the article, it says, in addition, as David Oxenford writes, is his broadcast law blog, licensing and royalties for podcasts, AM/FM radio materially different. You think? Broadcasting involves a public performance by transmitting a copyrighted work to multiple people outside your limited friends and family. Meanwhile, podcasts involve a private audience, which, as a result, requires specific grant of rights from the copyright holder of the sound recordings and the musical composition for each piece of music that is being podcast are really like a download. No, it is a download, which also involves a right to reproduction and distribution. It's not really like David. It is a download.
Yeah. And yeah, and here's another one that's going to get you all riled up. It says the field of podcast measurement has been obscure and difficult for years.
Yeah, for those that don't have it.
Is and I guess their Nielsen software development kit is
Of,
going to
of,
come to the
of
rescue here, Todd.
course, it's going to come, and you'll pay to participate and pay to get the results.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
it's the savior.
yes.
But but where is that SDK?
Yeah, Nielsen, you can write me a check. You're not getting my data for free, and not
So
without permission of the podcasters either.
okay, it says in here specific apps which have adopted Nielsen's SDK
Uh,
are undisclosed here. The, the most used app for podcast downloading and listening is Apple Podcasts. Apple recently made the blockbuster announcement that it would begin providing listening analytics. Okay, we know that this
yeah,
fall.
yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't say Nielsen's going to have any access to any of that. Because that data is going to be provided directly to
The
the
podcaster.
content creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be provided
No.
publicly in an aggregate
No.
number to any particular company.
No.
So Nielsen, at this point, unless they can negotiate a deal with Apple to get access to that level of detail, which I highly doubt they're going to be successful
Because
at.
podcasters will be pissed if they do that.
Yeah. Um,
Of course,
so,
podcasters have changed. Maybe they want their data to be shared with Nielsen. I don't know.
yeah, probably some do.
Yeah, it's
Especially the big podcasting networks. They probably want to have that data available over there, maybe.
right.
Um,
I
I
just
mean, if disclosing that data will help them reach bigger ad budgets with these brand advertisers.
I had a little bit of a discussion on Google Plus, and it was basically someone listens to the show, and and I appreciate people's passion, but I don't think, and we've already talked about this, but I want to be clear, just so that people know where I'm at on this thing. While I think that the Google Podcast data is going to, I mean, the Apple Podcast data is going to be good. I don't think it's going to be the holy grail that brings in multi-billions of dollars into
No,
the
no,
podcasting space.
no.
And folks are going to have some surprises with this data too. So it's going to be a fascinating conversation once, man, Rob, we're going to have some good shows once that data is released. Because I'm going to be able to do some parallel checking. I'm going to go right in and look at my stuff. I'm going to look at ESPN. I mean, not ESPN. I'm going to look at Apple stuff, and I'm going to do some comparisons.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to see that.
It's going to be good for some people and not so good for others, and it's only going to be it's still not a complete data set.
Yeah.
That's what I keep saying. It's just another glimpse that gives you a little bit more clarity of what's happening.
Mike said that what I have with this box, it's got a wax coating on it, and the wax coating has de-jellified, and that's what I'm feeling on my on this plastic box that I have. That's interesting that they put a wax coating on the box, make it
Mm.
shine, I guess, huh? Well,
It's probably a little protection, somewhat
yeah.
maybe, for it. But yeah.
All right, cool. We are. It's a light week, folks. So we're just kind of rambling, as you can tell, from a news standpoint. So not a lot to dig out today. That's really been available to chit chat about. Let me back up a little bit here and see if I can find some additional stuff that's came out that maybe I've overlooked. Oh, the Edison released the podcast consumer report for Australia. They did the same report for Australia as they do for the United States.
Oh.
I don't know if it's I'd like to. I guess it would be kind of cool to do a parallel. Let me see here. The findings of the report include the following. 72% of Australians are familiar with the term podcasting. Just under 30% of Australians have listened to a podcast. 17% have listened to one in the last month. It'd be beautiful to marry these between Australia and United States numbers. The audience in podcasts is predominantly 18 to 54 and leans slightly male. The podcast listener is an affluent, educated consumer and one who is more likely to gravitate to ad-free or ad-light subscription experiences. Clicking on a podcast to listen to it immediately, either streamed or via progressive download, is the dominant paradigm for listening, though 27% do subscribe. But Tom really hates the subscribe part, and it just always pops out in their reports.
Yeah.
It's going to be real interesting to see. We'll know when this podcast iOS stuff comes out where those numbers lay.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribers tend to have been podcast consumers for longer than non-subscribers. Most podcast consumers listen most of the podcast episodes they download, so it's a lot of the same stuff that they, sounds like some parallels to the U.S. data, and
Yeah, I would imagine it would be fairly similar.
Yeah.
Again, people are people.
But Triton Digital, Commercial Radio Audio, and Southern Cross Austero were the ones that sponsored. Now, Southern Cross, do you know what Southern Cross is, Rob?
Not 100% sure.
They are, they're a pretty big company. They run fiber. I think they are the ones that run some of the first fiber lines between Australia and other countries.
Oh,
And
okay.
I believe they have the Southern Cross actually built a line that I think it comes Australia to Hawaii, Hawaii to the United States. I'll have to look at the map, but they were one of the first ones in the very, very early day. They've been around a long time, long, long, long time. But it's interesting the ones that are sponsoring these studies are mostly radio-based groups, and then one,
Yeah.
backbone provider.
Yeah, it's like this conference I'm going to in Minneapolis next week. The conclave. It's all a bunch of radio folks that are trying to learn podcasting, which is now granted that the whole event is not just about podcasting. It's just about there's just one session that's going on at this big event talking about it, but it is kind of a every radio event has some sort of content session about trying to help radio people understand how podcasting is different and how they can leverage it to help them.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we will see. It'd be fun to get your report back from that because a conference I went to recently that had a bunch of radio pope. When the podcast session started, about 50% of them went out and got a cocktail. So we'll see how many do the head count. Go in there 20 minutes before your session, and if it's a single track event, you'll be able to see. Uh, you'll get an idea what the impact is.
Okay, I was at the rainnews.com website, and there is a kind of like an article that was posted up there on the 21st, just yesterday, talking about podcasting stuff, and a couple of you know this is one of those articles that kind of jumps around a bunch of different topics, and they wrote kind of like a paragraph about each topic, and a couple of the topics were podcasts at twice the speed spark debate.
Oh,
I guess there's people playing at double speed and things like that. Um, that's a topic that's some apps support that, some don't. Then another topic that was raised here is, will Apple ever offer podcast creation tools?
well, they
Well,
do.
they kind of do already. Yeah, exactly. It's called GarageBand.
Yeah.
Um, but I think what they were thinking is easier to use, kind of portable recording tools. But a lot of companies are, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a few companies. Spreaker is one of them that offers those kind of things. But yeah, it's a little odd that that would be a topic here. Um, SoundCloud shuts down its volunteer archive project. I don't know if you heard about
Oh,
this.
yeah, yeah. So what was going on was that the Internet Archive was backing up the 900 terabytes of media that was on SoundCloud,
Yeah.
and SoundCloud asked them to cease and desist. They said, stop archiving our platform's content.
Hmm.
So 900 terabytes, it's not cheap, Bill. Not at all.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that bill alone, just moving 900 terabytes of data off their service. Ouch! 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 Ouch!
Yeah.
So there was an article on The Verge yesterday talking about SoundCloud business model in the future. of their company, and nary not a single word in the entire article about podcasting. Not a beep. So
Yeah, I think that article is really focused on how broken the whole music model is, with those guys.
well, it's takedown notices and all that. A lot of podcasters have had their content taken down over there.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it. I saw someone's comment on it. Did you go through it?
Yeah. I, I read through it fairly well, but you're right. I mean, they've had a lot of struggles with um, content being put up there that people didn't have copyright for, and
Right.
that put a lot of pressure on SoundCloud from a label standpoint.
They also do a lot of re-encoding over there to you know to lower the quality of the content. So and that happens to podcasters too. The content gets re-encoded. So what you put up there is not what gets served. Um,
Mm-hmm.
at least on the streaming side. I don't know about the download side.
Gets crushed,
But
compressed.
well, when you have that model, it's we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
every article of uncertainty is not good for them.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of uncertainty around those guys. I mean, as we both have seen over the last couple of weeks, it's just been a deluge of people exiting stage left.
I was telling the team, I said, this is nothing, compared to the onslaught we will suffer if they pull the plug. And I told all the devs, you all will turn into customer support people for a couple of weeks.
You were forewarned.
Yeah, be forewarned. You will be all hands on deck. So yeah, and a lot of the content creators that are over there are, um, well, they create content. They really don't have most of them don't have a big background, and you know they they created a podcast because it was cool. They can do it on SoundCloud, and
Hmm.
they don't operate necessarily out of the ecosphere of SoundCloud either. So
So, Todd, are you traveling next week? Going anywhere?
I am leaving on the 29th. I'll be here for the show on Saturday.
Okay.
And then I definitely will not be here for the August 5th show, so we can probably do that when I get back.
Yeah, I have a family reunion that day anyway.
All right, so that
So,
that works out. So I'll be here for the 29th and August 5th, and then, man, it won't be too long, and we'll be in in Anaheim. Now I'm gonna. What day are you flying in Anaheim, Rob?
I am getting in there on I believe, the 22nd.
Yeah, I fly the red eye out of here on the 21st and get into LA at 5 a.m. My team is actually flying in on the 21st, so they're going to check me into my hotel room. So I'll have a room to walk into at 6 in the morning. And
Yeah, I actually get in down there at 9 a.m. on the 22nd. So I'm pretty much there the whole day
yeah,
on the 22nd.
so I'll
Yeah.
take a combat nap when I get to the hotel for a couple of hours, and then be ready to rock and roll. I do have a first class seat going to LA, so I've got a sleeper, a late flat. So if I'm lucky, I might get 4 hours sleep on the flight. Um,
Hmm.
so this is the closest, man. For me, this is an easy one. This is a 5 hour jaunt for me.
That's good.
Yeah, it's usually like 9, 10, 15, 18 hours. Going to Florida, it's ridiculous. United doesn't, you can get there from here, but, it's not without pain. It's like,
Oh yeah.
9.5, 10 hours to Chicago, a couple hour layover, then down to, uh, to Tampa. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's almost like me flying to Europe here. So
yeah, it's not that far, but, it's by the time I'm
yeah,
all
yeah,
travel time included, it's like 15 hours, so
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
yeah.
But at some point this summer, I want to take a little vacation. I've had like working vacations, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to knock it out.
Vacations those aren't even a concept that I'm familiar with.
Well, sometimes you gotta take a break, recharge
Yeah.
the batteries.
Yeah.
And that usually involves drinking lots of alcohol for 1 week
Oh, really?
and laying out on a beach and just doing what you do at a beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sick. I live 5 miles from some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and I don't get to the beach maybe once a month. So
Yeah. Well, once a month is once a month, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's more than most people get.
That's true. That's true. If you live in Michigan, going to the beach is going to the lake or a pond. Which
Yeah,
has its
exactly.
own advantages too.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
all right. Well, we're here at the end. We struggled through, and
We were limping into the finish line here.
yeah, I
Right.
tried to reach
Yeah.
out to some folks too to be on, but everyone's on vacation, and
Yeah.
enjoying their summer. Other people get other people get summer vacations. What's up with that?
I
Uh,
know.
uh,
Just doesn't seem fair.
no, it's not fair. And then people always bust my balls because you live in Hawaii, you're always on vacation. I'm like, well, you have to work like a dog to live here. People that live here don't, unless you move here independently rich. You're basically a slave to make your house payment and pay your electric bill.
Yeah,
So
I'll bet.
yeah, that's back in Michigan. I'm telling you, Rob, it's if I can talk my wife into it, man, I would leave here tomorrow. She's the one that basically says, "Nope, we're not leaving." I would get the. We would be in a month hiatus because I would have the truck show up with the shipping containers, and I would literally throw stuff into the back of it.
So where would you want to move to if you did?
you know, and I be honest, with you, I wouldn't mind going back home. It's not bad. It's a
Back
lot.
to Michigan?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it, and it's within striking distance of Columbus, and
Yeah.
my
It's
sister
kind of
has.
it's a
Yeah,
little more centrally located in the country too,
yeah.
so.
I'm out now an hour and a half from the airport. That's the only bad thing, but
Mhm.
my sister's got a business, and she's got places where I could rent you know a business front from her and have a studio, and yeah, it would be pretty awesome. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, kids get in high school, so I can't go anywhere for a couple of years. So,
Yeah.
but
Stay stable for them for a while.
yeah, but I wouldn't mind slugging snow with a snow blower or paying someone to do the snow blowing.
Todd's had enough of paradise.
When you need to go on vacation. If I'm going to take if she's not working at the airlines and I put everybody on an airplane, it's 3,000 just to leave the house, or 4,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Totally.
it's vacations are planned well in advance and budgeted. It's not like I can get in a car and drive to another state and do a 2 or 3 day dealio and do it on a budget. It just doesn't work that way here.
Yeah.
So,
But I tell you, I'm going to be really, really crazy busy at Podcast Movement this year. It's going to be a wild
why is
couple days
that?
down there.
Why is that?
Just all of the panel sessions that I'm moderating, and then plus our booth there, and the Hall of Fame stuff, and
Yeah.
just a lot of stuff going on down there. I'm
S-
just like,
So you got your tuxedo ready?
no, I don't have my tuxedo ready.
Oh, no, 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 no. We talked about that.
I know I have to just call down there and reserve one. I guess I'm not gonna.
You should take one with you. You got to go get fit. You just can't rent a
Oh, I can't
tuxedo.
just. Okay,
That's how
as you can tell, I don't do this very
in
often.
in
So
in your size, you need to go get fit because
I
it's
know that's true.
you
That's true.
are like she's gonna go. I don't know if I've got one for you. So
All right. Good advice, Todd. I
yeah,
didn't think about that.
and they'll rent it for you for 5 days, or 6 days or whatever it is. So you're good. You have to represent. Rob dressed up. Really, he didn't wear tux though.
I know he didn't wear a tux.
No,
I
but
mean, but he wore a bow tie, right?
Yes, he did wear a bow tie. So,
I could get a bow tie if I have to do that.
you're not the bow tie kind of guy. Eh,
I'm not.
maybe. I
I'm not
don't know.
really a tux kind of guy either.
Well, that's
So
true. So is your wife coming with you for the event?
I don't think so.
Oh, I was gonna say, if she does, when you're in a tux, it's absolutely guaranteed you're gonna get lucky.
Todd, oh my God. If only it was that easy, right, Todd?
Well, when you
Just
wear the tux, it always is. It's just like that's a guarantee that night. So,
okay.
all right.
Too much information.
Yeah, TMI. All right, everybody. Now that we've like wide-eyed opened everybody here, so
Yeah, that's right. Now they're all paying attention.
that's right, they are.
Yeah, they were sleeping before.
If they're still here, we'll find out if they're
Yeah.
still here. We will know. If you were still here, comment. All right, everyone. Thanks for being part of the Ohana here, being part of the listen to the show, and we'll see you next Saturday. And we're going to try pull some people in. It's just been hard over the summer. But
Yeah.
you can reach me, Todd at blueberry.com or at Geek News on Twitter. Rob?
On Twitter is great for me too. Rob at Rob Greenlee. And I guess that would be at Rob Greenlee in that case. But Rob at robgreenlee.com is a great place to reach me, and SpeakerLiveShow.com. I do a podcast every week about podcasting. So
All right,
that's it.
thanks for being here. We'll see you next week on the New Media Show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
I got to find the right button. YouTube today was much better than Facebook.